Also say it was interesting to watch how this party, especially last night, is leaning into issues that maybe were perceived as vulnerabilities. I'm talking last night about immigration. You had Senator Chris Murphy, who was one of the co-authors of that legislation that Donald Trump killed, along with James Lankford of Oklahoma, the Republican there. He came out and said, we worked hard for months and months and months. We got the deal Republicans said they wanted. We presented it to them, and Donald Trump came in and killed the bill. Kamala Harris says, I will sign that bill when I become president. Going hard, very interesting. Wow. This is an issue that Donald Trump thinks he has on Democrats, and the Democrats last night say, no, actually, you killed that bill. We are going to be on the offensive on immigration.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new Democratic Party. This is a different type of Democratic Party than the type that I ran against. I mean, you know, they were always very easy to go after, and they'd, like, you know, sort of run around in circles, and they were for the war before they were against the war. They were this, they were that. You take an issue that they were nervous about, and they'd run away from it. And you just, it would be just easy to run against them. Now they're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Take the issue that's your weakness, make it your strength, and go straight at them with it. And it's hard to beat that. I will say also, Tim, we used to run against Democratic parties. It was like the old Simpsons cartoon where they had Republican conventions and they held up banners that said, we don't care about people. Then they go to the Democratic convention, they held up banners that said, we can't run things,
we
right?
hate ourselves.
Yeah, we can't run things. And this is a Democratic Party, I mean, just ruthlessly efficient. I have not seen a convention night after night after night that sets it up this well. This is not the Democratic Party that you and I are used to seeing.
No, the way that they co-opted all these traditional Republican themes, now they aren't Republican values really, but Republican themes last night was, you know, there's been a lot of talk about the freedom, the way they've co-opted that word. But last night it was much more than that. The patriotism, there's the USA placards, there were more USA chants at the Democratic convention than the Republican convention. I think that there was more mention of God and the Bible. You saw that in a lot of speeches, like Hakeem Jeffries, Oprah, Tim Walz. That you saw last night. Football, obviously. Patriotism, talking about the Olympic team. The Republicans are complaining there were drag queens in the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. You know, last night they're like, we love our Olympic heroes. Yay. I know it was like a very American, heartland America thematically. And that was, you know, obviously very savvy. And it's something that sometimes Democrats in the past were uncomfortable with or ran away from.
Right.
Not last night.
They always were uncomfortable about it. If somebody started a USA chant in a Democratic crowd, everybody would turn around and look at him. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Plant?
What? What? Who let the Republican in? But now you're exactly right. But there's a reason, too. This is not sort of just faux patriotism. This is, I mean, it's because Donald Trump has opened the door. When Donald Trump brags about saying America sucks, when he brags about saying America's on the decline, when he brags about saying that America is a stupid place, well, we have a lot to be proud of as Americans. I've always believed that. Doesn't matter what party I'm in. I love this country. I'm proud of this country. And most Americans feel the way I do about America. So when you have one party that's actually attacking America all the time, then yeah, I'm going to hold the USA placard up and I'm going to go USA, USA, USA. And it works. It's the same thing with immigration. They killed the toughest immigration bill in history that James Lankford wrote. And so it's working because it's true.
Yeah, and the Democrats are showing bravery, and they are leaning into issues. They brought in last night, and it was one of the most emotional moments, the parents of Hersh Goldberg, the hostages, talking about basically, and in the most empathetic way, saying that there is agony on both sides and we need to bring them home, and talking about this as not a political issue, it's a humanitarian issue. And you contrast that with Donald Trump trying to, you know, pit Jews against each other. And it was, as you said, they're leaning into the issues that are even challenging for them. And an entire night of freedom and joy and freedom. And boy, I wouldn't want to be running against those Democrats right now.
Not at all. And Willie, we're going to have they're going to be here later this morning.
Yeah, that to me, I think Donnie's absolutely right. That was the most emotionally striking moment of the night, particularly when Mrs. Goldberg called out to Hersh at the end in an unscripted moment, leaned into the mic and said, "If you can hear us, be strong, survive." They will be our guests a little bit later this morning, as you said. Caddy, your impressions from last night as a part of this week and leading up to the moment of the week, which will be the acceptance speech tonight by Vice President Kamala Harris. Again, just stopping and noting what an extraordinary moment in history it is, not just because of who she is, but because of how she got here, where a month ago things were very much up in the air in the Democratic Party.
And look how united and excited the Democratic Party is. Yeah. And we went through all of those weeks before Joe Biden stepped down with people second-guessing Kamala Harris and saying, actually, you know what, maybe he shouldn't step down because she would be the next choice. And there are so many concerns about whether she's going to be a good candidate. And we've seen over the course of the last 4 months what an exceptional candidate she has been and how she's rallied the Democratic Party behind her. I thought one of the striking things last night was Tim Walz's speech. It was about 16, 17 minutes by my judgment. Joe Biden spoke for an hour on Monday night. It shows what you can do in a political speech when you don't need it to go very, very long. He did it. He told the stories. I think he had, just by virtue of the fact of who he is and playing up this coach theme, it does do something to reach out to rural, white, perhaps non-college educated voters who might be leaning for Donald Trump. I mean, he looks like the kind of guy they could be comfortable with. I don't know if any of those voters are going to switch sides because of Tim Walz, but he, of all of the speakers we've had here during the course of this week, he has done the most to get there.
He's running a very Friday Night Lights campaign right now, is Coach Walz.
There's something about a field goal, and we're in the end, and anyway, we've got to keep going.
Very good. Yeah. Field goal. Nice reference. We'll get you there. Let's listen to a little bit of Governor Walz's speech last night.
Now, I grew up in Butte, Nebraska, a town of 400 people. I had 24 kids in my high school class, and none of them went to Yale. But I'll tell you what, growing up in a small town like that, you learn how to take care of each other. That family down the road, they may not think like you do. They may not pray like you do. They may not love like you do. But they're your neighbors. And you look out for them, and they look out for you. So while other states were banning books from their schools, we were banishing hunger from ours. We also protected reproductive freedom because in Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and the personal choices they make. And even if we wouldn't make those same choices for ourselves, we've got a golden rule. Mind your own damn business. That includes IVF and fertility treatments. And this is personal for Gwen and I. If you've never experienced the hell that is infertility, I guarantee you, you know somebody who has. And I can remember praying each night for a phone call. The pit in your stomach when the phone had rang, and the absolute agony when we heard the treatments hadn't worked. It took Gwen and I years, but we had access to fertility treatments. And when our daughter was born, we named her Hope. Hope, Gus, and Gwen, you are my entire world, and I love you.
John Heilemann, brevity is the soul of wit, they say. That never really absorbed into my being. But at a convention, 17 minutes, you define that as brief. And it looks like the governor did that. Did he deliver?
I think so. I mean, look, I agree with you, Joey. We're used to these long convention speeches. You know, Bill Clinton's a great example where, you know, he ends up going over time and then everybody says, wow, it was just so brilliant that we're fine with that. And it's almost surprising, you know, when someone gets up and comes in well under what everyone expects to be the time. I will say one of the things about this convention is that they have been running late every night. And, you know, we thought at that, remember back when Joe Biden started as late as he did on Monday night, there was all this discussion about, you know, how unfortunate it was that he started out of prime time. Everybody has been going out of prime time every single night, including, I believe, Tim Walz started roughly around the same time that Joe Biden did on Monday night. And for that purpose, if nothing else, coming in at 15 or 16, 17 minutes is good news for him. There wasn't a word wasted in that speech, and I continue to be stunned by a guy who had never performed on the national stage before. Every time you put him in front of a big crowd, whether it was that first introductory speech or this one, he's, knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, Tim, that's the surprise. We sit around this table. I sit around this table. We talk about, when the quarterback was rolling to his left and he threw the 70-yard pass, he should have passed it like 5 more yards to the right. Like, why didn't he lead the receiver better?
Yeah.
You know this very well because you've been close to it. When you get under those bright lights, you don't know who's going to hit their mark and who's not. And 99% of the people don't hit their mark. I wonder if you're as surprised as I am that not just Tim Walz, but also Kamala Harris, somebody that people did not think was up to the job a month and a half ago, that she couldn't step into that spotlight, that they've both filled the stage and they're hitting their marks like they've been doing it their whole lives.
Yeah. And I've worked for some pretty good politicians that didn't step up when the spotlight got bright, and they're still great and talented individuals. You just don't know. And I think that the vice president, maybe even her team would admit that, like, at the beginning of the vice presidency, she was a little uncertain, right? It's tough being the second person speaking for. And so how are you going to do when the spotlight is there? And she really has stepped up. I think that both her and Walz, to the brevity of the soul is the soul of wit point, have been keeping it tight, though. They have a clear message. They know what their message is. It's a little different from what Biden's message was.
By the
and
way,
they're not getting
that
off
first night, Tim, and again, I know this sounds like a small thing. She came out first night. She waved. She spoke for 4 minutes. She walked off the stage, and Mika and I looked at each other and said, brilliant. Everybody else would have overstayed their welcome. Like, you're right. They're hitting it.
And night two, when they are in Milwaukee, where Trump had his convention, packed Fiserv Forum, and they cut to her from the convention, and she's just waving. You see the huge freedom in red, white, and blue up there. I know it looks good. It was hitting the marks on advance and on her performance.
By the way, can we talk about that as well? We're talking about how they're taking Republican themes, Republican symbols, and making them their own. Again, freedom's a great example because of abortion rights, because of reproductive rights. But also think about that. She decided freedom worked better than democracy. And she's so right.
It was definitely right. And this is why I'm a never Trumper, right? The democracy threat cares to me. Everything
it matters. You're right.
It's play into the Morning Joe green room, right? But you got to get beyond that. You got to speak to other folks as well. And I think that she really has landed there on freedom and on patriotism. One other person I should just shout out as the never Trumper last night, Jeff Duncan, Lieutenant Governor of Georgia. Very conservative, like much more conservative than me, like a far-right social conservative, spoke last night, said clearly, I disagree with her on policy, but if you vote for Kamala Harris, it doesn't mean you're a Democrat. It means you're a patriot. Great line. And again, it's like that freedom and patriotism. We're trying to speak to the types of people that might not traditionally be Democrats, but are like, we're sick of this. We're not going back. We want to trust that these folks share our values, and they've been focused on that.